live. Hello, Moto.
Hello,
Hello,
YouTube.
everybody. 3 people watching.
Welcome. Hey, Susan. Hello, beautiful. How are you? Epic Adventures. Hello.
Hello, hello.
Thanks, Donna.
Thank you, Donna. Can't see chat yet. Give me a sec. One second, y'all. I'm a coming.
She's a coming.
Trying to monetize the thingy mabucher and uh
She's been having a lot of problems with thingamaboochies.
yeah. Yeah, they don't like me. Okay.
So, how is everybody tonight? I know it was hot where Lisa was today, but it was cool here.
She's just like showing off. She's just a show offer.
I am.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be like 92 tomorrow and then 98 Friday, Sunday. And then all week next week is supposed to be in the 90s. So I'll be feeling you tomorrow, Lisa.
I'm supposed to be hot tomorrow too. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm monetized. Mate, go. All right, we're gonna wait for a few more people to come in chat, and then I'll play the disclaimer, play the opening video.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
hey, awesome and epic student Donna.
All right, Susan, take your time.
Take your time, take your time. Trying to let some people get in here before we start.
Yeah. Plus, it gives us a break.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We've been working on this for hours, me and Doris. We are committed, if
Yes,
nothing else.
we is.
Check, make sure I have my opening in the booster already.
There's that thingy majiggy again.
Yeah, thingamajiggy. Thingamajiggers. Okay. Listening to a few more people.
I need to get one of those smoking things that Jimmy has.
Oh, it's Jimmy taught me a trick. All you gotta do is like if you have a picture downloaded already, you go to the what's that video? You You click on choose virtual background. You click on the little picture. You cover the camera. See if this works. You cover the camera, and then you can do this. See?
Ah,
Yeah,
very
Jimmy got
cool.
it. Jimmy got
Yeah, I have to get a virtual background thing. I don't have one.
it. Yeah, I don't either. Jimmy's fine. He
Jimmy
can't
is
check a
special. He
fucking
has
email.
he
Can't
has
check.
all the fun, cool stuff.
He can't check a fucking email, but you know he. Okay.
I know. I said to her, "Hello, little Miss
Hey, Linda. It's little
STFU."
Miss, shut the fuck up. That's who it is. You're here.
Oh,
You're here. Yay,
all
little Miss is
right,
here. Thank you. So,
Captain. Welcome,
hello, hello, everybody. So I'm gonna start off with playing the disclaimer.
Joseph Girl.
Hello, Joseph Grohl. I'm gonna start off playing the disclaimer because I have to, and then um, we have a little intro video.
Aren't they cute? And just a disclaimer: those children are not abused.
All right, my screen's still sharing, right?
Yes.
Okay.
This case is going to be very emotional. So at any point you find yourself getting a little overwhelmed, please step out of the courtroom, compose yourself, and then come back inside.
This was the case that has followed me from that night.
It's still hard to believe two people did all those horrible things to him.
Gabriel Fernandez was, at the time of his death, 8 years old.
That was my friend, and it really caught me because it was his parent who took his life.
Very good kid, very faithful. These two people murdered this child. How did this come to be?
How did a child who had so many signs of repeated and long-term abuse slip through the cracks?
It really wasn't until I got all of the evidence that I realized how egregious the case was.
This was a story that could not be ignored.
The question was, could we uncover what was really going on?
The Department of Children and Family Services has significant involvement in this case.
The Board of Supervisors have now taken notice. There's something about this kid's death.
There was no medical follow-up, even to the injuries that were acknowledged by the department.
You're thinking about in your head, how could this be true?
As prosecutors, we need to up our game. She didn't just prosecute the mother and her boyfriend. She also took the step of prosecuting the 4 social workers.
They had a job, and their job was to save a little boy.
The system is overtaxed. The most children I had was about 280. I did not commit a crime.
When the details came out of how this poor child was tortured and all of these people knew, I think it shook the county to the core.
Bureaucracies tend to function to preserve the institution at all costs. The system has this enormous power. There are those who think that by not talking, can limit the bad publicity.
I believe the ultimate evil is seeing what's wrong and looking away when you have a power to make the difference. That is true evil.
Okay. So we're here for part 2 of our series we're doing for Gabriel Fernandez. Yeah. So you want to start your introduction, Doris?
What? So,
Oh wait, we gotta do a disclaimer. Forgot about the other disclaimer. Um, Tonight we're gonna be showing a lot of. It's not gonna be as much talking as there's gonna be clips. There's gonna be pictures. We will periodically take a break to give everyone else a break, plus us, to answer questions, read comments. If we don't pay attention to the chat as well as we usually do, it's because of everything that we have to go through. Today is Tonight is the night that we go through the beginning of the trial. Um, so if you need to step away, the chat or whatever at any given moment, please feel free. There will be graphic photos shown. There will be graphic details being told. Um, so feel free to walk away at any given moment. Take a breather, come back. Um, yeah, that's the only disclaimer and warning I wanted to give. Off to Doris.
all right. So for people like Joseph Grohl, who is already confused, um, if you've never heard of him, Gabriel Fernandez was an 8-year-old boy who was beaten and tortured and ultimately murdered by his mother and his stepfather, who was the mother's boyfriend. He basically, for most of his life, got bounced around from family members of the mother's. She ended up taking him back from her parents in 2012. So, and I want you to pay attention to the dates, or we want you to pay attention to the dates, because it was only an 8-month period that Joseph lived with his mother and her boyfriend.
Gabriel.
I'm sorry, Gabriel. I said Joseph, huh? Maybe
Yeah.
I want Joseph to be abused. No, I'm only joking, Joseph. So Pearl got custody of Gabriel back in 2012. Before then, her mother and father had him, and along with her uncle. If you watched last week, you know a little bit of the history. On May 22nd of 2013, Pearl called 911, and she told the police dispatcher that her 2 sons, Gabriel and his brother Ezekiel, had been playing, and that Gabriel had fallen and hit in his head, and he was not breathing and not responding. When paramedics arrived, they saw bruises and scrapes, skin missing, cuts, open areas all over his body, which led them to believe that what Pearl had said was not true. So that was on May 22nd. On May 23rd, Pearl, his mother, and Izaro, the boyfriend, were both arrested. Gabriel had been rushed to the hospital, and upon going from the emergency room in their town, he was life flighted to a bigger trauma center.
He was
And
he was flown to the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles.
right. So he went to the trauma center and then was flown to the Children's Hospital in LA. There is when they called the police to report child abuse. So Pearl and the boyfriend were arrested. Pearl was arrested for felony child endangerment. While
Hold on. By the time he got to the Children's Hospital, he was already pronounced brain dead.
right, sorry, I
Yeah,
forgot to put that on here.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was pronounced brain dead. They put him on a intubator, and on the 23rd, Pearl and Azario were arrested. Pearl was, like I said, charged with felony child endangerment.
So was
Well,
Tony. They both were charged. Tony and Pearl were both arrested on felony child endangerment. Tony was also charged with attempted murder.
And on the next day, which was the 24th, Gabriel was taken off the breathing machine and he ultimately ended up dying. So then the charges were upgraded to first-degree murder with special circumstances of torture. On the 29th, during this time, from the 23rd to the 29th, while the police were investigating, they had learned that from the first week that Pearl had custody of Gabriel, the Child Protective Services in their county had gotten multiple complaints against Pearl and Tony. And they had been there multiple times, but nothing was ever came of it. So the county decided to start a investigation on the Child Protective Services.
Little Miss, his family took him off life support.
Yes.
The grandparents.
And then on May 25th, the county started a board of supervisors to create what they called a blue ribbon commission to investigate the child welfare agency as a whole, to try to come up with reforms on how they handled child welfare cases. On July 30th, a month of investigations, 2 social workers and 2 supervisors in that county's Department of Child and Family Services were fired because of Gabriel's death. They were the 4 people that were assigned to his case that had gotten over, was it 60 complaints, Lisa?
Yes, 60.
Over 60 complaints from different people, family, teachers, just anyone who
Saw Gabriel.
saw Gabriel, because he always, from day one, had bruises, burns, marks, and he was obviously being beaten.
So before we go further into the child and stuff, we're about to show you, and this is where the warning comes in, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, Wiggy. Hello, Ken, my brother.
Hello,
Ken.
guys.
So this is where the disclaimer comes in, that I gave out. Lady C, what's good? This is where the disclaimer comes in. We are about to show you photographs from Gabriel when he was brought to the hospital. 2 of the pictures we're going to show you is about 3 weeks after moving in with his mother. These pictures are graphic. They are very disturbing. So I just want to warn everybody again now. So let me share the screen.
And they are different degrees, because like Lisa said, it's from the beginning to the end. So you'll see the progression of the abuse that Gabriel had endured.
Right.
Mind you, Gabriel was 8 years old.
Hold on, Donna. We're going to get there. We're getting there, Donna. If the thing would load. Okay. How you doing, Wiggy? Thank you, Ken. And we'll wait for the YouTube side to catch up.
Oh, and another thing we forgot to mention. We did mention it last week, but for anyone who did not watch last week, we are sharing foundations that were created in Gabriel's name, and they're for different things. Most of them are to support child abuse, but any proceeds that the roundtable makes will be going to one of those foundations at the end of our series of streams. Sorry, Lisa.
That's all right. Did YouTube catch up yet? Am I still sharing? All right. So this is Gabriel, about 2 weeks living, 2 or 3 weeks living with his mother Pearl. Is it sharing? Can you see it on your YouTube side?
It still shows all the pictures.
What the ficus?
I see the wheel of death above your cursor.
Did they end our stream?
I don't think so. I'll tell you in a second.
It didn't end it. Okay. Let's try this again. I'll get with the program, people. You know, we in a high budget production.
Thank you for loving
Thank
and
you,
sharing
Tracy.
it.
Thank you, thank you.
We tried working out all the technical issues
Yeah,
earlier.
but sometimes you know you can't control what your computer does. You know, you just
Exactly.
okay.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Captain.
thank you, Captain. Thank you, Captain. All right, we're moving with Crisco now. I see things moving. YouTube. Is slow.
There you go.
Hell. Good God.
So this is how Gabriel ended up going to school one day.
Right. This picture actually his aunt Pearl's youngest sister took of him. You see, he has a busted lip, a black eye. That eye's healing. This eye's blackened. There's already patches of hair missing off the top of his head. That's 2 or 3 weeks living with Pearl. This picture was taken the last time he was in school before he was murdered. The teacher called and reported this. Gabriel is holding up a sign that he was making for his mother for Mother's Day. But this is how the last time anyone saw Gabriel alive, that's what he looked like. These are pictures from the hospital. You can see the bruises and the abrasions on his knees, his legs, up his
Some
thigh.
of those circles are BB pellet holes
Right.
because they shot him with BB pellets. They put cigarettes out on him.
It's his foot. They're not really clear where that came from.
Hi, Jerry.
Hi, Jerry. They're not giving into specifics about all the mark, but this is, like we were telling you last week, he was covered from head to toe with marks, bruises, abrasions.
And you'll see when we cover the court trial, the nurse says how his whole body was swollen, and that's why his feet look so big. They were swollen from just the abuse and torture.
So this is another picture. This is the neck, the abrasions on his neck. That's his chin. All these marks here. Some are old, some are new. Mind you, this is within a 6-month period. Gabriel endured this.
Jerry, his name is Gabriel Fernandez. He was a boy who was tortured and abused by his mother and her girlfriend and her boyfriend. Netflix did a documentary on him. And Lisa and I had done further investigation and decided to do a series of live streams.
Okay, so this is his legs. I want you to notice down by his ankle, where my cursor is right there, the perfect round on both ankles. This is where he was tied up. Notice the swelling of the knees, the abrasions all down his leg.
And you can see the bruises are all different colors,
Right, so
which
that-
shows you that he was abused over time.
I'm not sure if this is just the way the picture was taken, but to me, even in the documentary, I noticed a little like yellow tint to his skin. That is a
Right.
form of malnutrition. That is a sign of malnutrition and the lack of nutrients his body was getting. Um, it's further up his legs. Mind you, this is all taken from the emergency room before he made it to the children's hospital.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you, Jerry. Yes, ligature marks. They are legit. Legit. Yes, that word. This is Gabriel's face. Upon arriving to the hospital. She is. We'll get into there, Jerry. We'll get into that. We'll explain what happened to them. This is hand. You pay close attention to his wrist. You can see where he was tied up there too. Some said that his fingers look like this from him holding his arm up, his hands up, trying to defend himself. They're saying that's why his hand may have possibly been swollen. I agree, Captain. Another picture of his hand. You can see the legit. That word. Better.
Ligature.
Yeah, that word. What Doris said, the smart one. I got a smart one too, Ken.
And you can see his knuckles. They either were putting cigarettes out on his hands or he was shot with BBs or just from him scraping his hands trying to protect himself.
Right. This is his face. That's where they're saying the skin was missing near the neck and stuff. There's chunks of skin missing here, all along here, down here, and right here. That's blood.
Yeah, Jerry, it's all open wounds on his body. The nurses had said there was different degrees of it over every inch of his body. So some of them are newer, some of them are older.
This is an x-ray they took of him at the hospital. Trying to for YouTube to catch up. Yeah, this is the x-ray they took of Gabriel in the hospital.
Yes, Jerry.
She was. We have an interview by a YouTuber that I've been watching for a while now. Um, he covered this case as well, and he actually went and found one of her cellmates, or
Yeah, Susan, sorry.
one of the fellow inmates that was partook um, in the beating of Pearl when the female inmates found out what she did to her son. That a guard slipped out and accidentally told. Okay, so um, when Pearl and Tony was arrested on May 23rd, uh, the police did their investigation into the apartment of where Gabriel stayed. The next set of photos that I'm going to show is what they found when they did their investigation in Gabriel's home. Um, there was so much blood. I just want to point this out before I go into this. There was so much blood from Gabriel in this apartment that the woman that did the investigation ran out of yellow tape. I mean, red tape. And she had to start using yellow to mark the spots of blood. He what you there was no slip, Susan. He didn't slip at all. You'll see throughout some of the videos we were playing, um, he did not slip. And his brother Ezekiel was made to lie. Um, Gabriel never slipped. But throughout the clips that we play, you'll see that. We were unable to get the 911 call because that shit is down like Fort Knox. Like the other child we're investigating that was murdered after Gabriel, his 911 call is all over, not Gabriel's. So we weren't able to get Gabriel's 911 call. But in some of the clips that we have, um, you get to hear pieces of the 911 call. You will also see the nurse that Doris was talking about that treated Gabriel in the ER. You will hear testimony from the paramedics that arrived to treat Gabriel. Um, the security guard was not the only one that let it slip.
She means the prison guard
Oh, yeah,
when
the
she
prison
let
guard
out
let
the
it. The
crime.
prison guard let it slip. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, you're gonna in some of the testimony you're going to see that, like I said, the paramedics that arrived. Um, you're gonna hear some of the interrogation from the stepfather. Doris has clips of where you actually catch Pearl trying to find out what exactly Tony said. Um, her getting mad because he told them that she was in the same room. She wanted him to lie, basically, and say she wasn't in the room when he was beating Gabriel. Um, so I'm going to go into the crime scene photos right now. And then after that, we'll talk for a little bit. And we'll go into some of the clips that we have. These are, before we go into the crime, because I forgot about these. Um, these are the autopsy um, photos, report, whatever you want to call them. I'm not exactly sure what you call
The
them.
diagrams,
Yeah, the diagrams.
which is usually what the coroner draws up just to show sometimes cause of death, sometimes just whatever they find on the external part of the body.
and then I'll go into the crime scene. YouTube's catching up. All right, so there's a mark on the body over here where it's BB pellet. Now there was some. How many BBs did you say they took out of Gabriel doors?
I believe they took 10 or 12 out
Right.
that were still in his body. There was one in his lung.
Right.
There was some in his groin. He had some old wounds in his face.
So again, these are all the. I don't know if you guys can see them very good. I tried to find a way to blow it up, but it didn't.
So just imagine, guys, all of that writing are different marks or holes or some sort of damage to Gabriel's body that the coroner made note of. On this, you'll hear testimony from one of the police officers saying that that basically looked like someone tried to cut his penis off. And that may very well have been because, according to Tony, the stepfather, the abuse happened because they believed Gabriel was gay. Because, Donna, they were threatened that they would be beaten like
children.
Gabriel.
And these are children too, Donna. You have to understand, these ain't adults. These are children too. So being children, we look at our parents as the caregivers. They're there to protect us, to teach us, to nurture us. So they're seeing their youngest brother be tortured like this. They're seeing people come to the house, child services come to the house, and they wasn't stopping it.
The police came to the house.
Police had came to the house. It didn't stop it. So
and not only did the police not stop it, the police threatened Gabriel
right,
that he would go to jail.
right. So you can't put this blame on children. It's not the children's responsibility. There was family members that could have went in there and took Gabriel, and nothing could have been said, because quite frankly, Pearl's parents still had guardianship over Gabriel. That was never taken away from them. In any moment, they could have walked in their house, took Gabriel, and there was nothing Tony or Pearl could have did about it. You can't put the blame on these other children in the home when they see time and time and after again cops who we are brought up to believe that they're there to serve and protect us. They're the good guys. Well, the good guys came and left and blamed their brother who was getting tortured and beaten. Would you speak?
And the brother testified that whenever he helped Gabriel, if he was caught, he would get beat.
Right. His sister, Virginia, watched him get dragged out of her room by his hair, his ears, his neck, if they caught him playing with her. It is not the children's job to protect. It's not. This is some more from the coroner's report. And I'm not getting smart with you, Donna, so please don't take it that way. I lived in a situation like this. I did. And when, not this bad, but I was raised with child abuse. Both my parents are alcoholic. And you go to the people that you believe is going to protect you. And once they don't protect you, you feel lost. because they were scared themselves, Donna. You're looking at these pictures of what happened with Gabriel. Do you think they want that to happen to him?
Not only
Yeah.
that, Donna, but Gabriel told people
Yeah,
and nothing happened.
neighbors knew. Neighbors in that building heard this boy getting beat. They saw the bruises. They would march Gabriel around that building complex and address to humiliate him and embarrass him as a punishment. Plenty of people knew. They're too young and they were scared themselves. When you hear his brother and sister talk, they snuck their brother a banana through a cabinet and ran off. They made him eat the peel so none of them got in trouble for feeding him. Donna, do you see the torture this boy went through? I wouldn't want, if I was a child, I'd be petrified too. I wouldn't open my fucking mouth for nothing. I would
And
do and say whatever I had to so that didn't happen to me.
and their uncle gained custody of them after this, and they both feel guilty because they did not say anything.
And these are almost adults now, Donna. They suffer terribly right now. The sister, Virginia, more than Ezekiel. So damage was done to them too. They're victims too. Okay, damn it. Thank you. This is more. I'm gonna up close look. Yeah, but not the children. Not the children. They're in my mind, and I'm trying to keep this as respectful as possible. In my mind, first and foremost, first and foremost, and this is no disrespect to Gabriel's family because I can't pass judgment, but in my opinion, they should have stepped in and saved that boy.
Right. Those children were victims as well, Donna.
Right. They're survivors. But in my mind, that family should have stepped in and saved that little boy. They knew what was going on. They should have saved him. If I have a family member, and I'm saying this because I helped my ex raise his niece. As a family member, you see your niece, your nephew, your cousin, as an adult, you a grandparent, whatever. You step in and you do something to help them. Nobody stepped in to save this little boy.
Donna, that's why we're doing this. So we
Right.
can bring light to things that happened and how many people did not do anything.
Exactly. And let me just shed some light on this county because I told Doris I was gonna bring this up because it fucking infuriated me when I saw this because I had no clue. No clue. Let me tell you how fucked up this county is. This is the same county that tried Casey Anthony and found her not guilty of murdering her daughter, people. Okay? Let's just throw that out there. I didn't realize this until me and Doris were investigating more into this county today. The same county that found that woman not guilty of murdering her daughter.
And that's what next week's stream is going to be mostly about, is the county and the different people that were involved that ignored all the signs and all the investigations that are going on to this day, 7 years later, because of it.
So these pictures are just to kind of give you an idea because you can't see his body all at once with the injuries. There should not be this much writing and scribble on the coroner's report for an 8-year-old little boy. That's why we're showing you. It just shouldn't be. This is a list of injuries. It says the
Just
yellow,
on his head and face and like his torso area.
right. The next picture you're about to see, the color yellow is area of traumatic, what's that A word? Alopecia.
Alopecia.
Yeah. That. Ah, damn it. The purple on this picture indicates swollen area of the top of the head. This pinkish is large scrapes from abrasions. The face and neck, ears and shoulders, that's down here they're talking about now. This color is an irregular abrasion upper forehead. Abrasion right cheekbone, multiple liner marks, abrasion, bridge of nose, swollen left eye bruising, abrasion, and dead skin left cheekbone eye area.
Susan, I was just going to say that alopecia is basically loss of hair. So that's from them ripping his hair out of his head.
Diffuse bruising, entire left side of face. Abrasion beside mouth, cigarette burn. Hey, 2A TVs. 2 BB gun, partial healed wounds, left lower cheek. Left to right side cheek, diffusion area, dermal coloration, abraded, and I can't read the rest of it because ABC's got their thing in the way. How dare they? Freaking live streaming here. Okay, so that's that. Next set of pictures is going to be the crime scene photos.
So that's what his siblings called the box.
Yep, YouTube hasn't catched up yet. Hold on. YouTube is slow. Oh, they're slowly getting there. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is what, like Dora said, the children called the box. This is what Gabriel slept in. This is what they kept him in. This was a cabinet in the parents' room.
And when he was in there, he was bounded by his wrists and his ankles, and they put cuffs on the doors to prevent them from opening. And they would gag him.
And at one point, you'll see a picture where they stop using the cuffs. Okay. They stopped using the cuffs and they put wood in between the handles because the kids, I think they found out the kids, the 2 older kids, was sneaking him stuff. So they took the handcuffs off and put the wood across. And if they put the wood across and they bounded him, there could be no crack because the handcuffs, you could open the door a little bit. So they would put the wood across the handle. You'll see a picture of it. And then they couldn't hear him if they gagged him. You couldn't hear nothing.
And there were times when, according to the people that went to the house during investigations, that's what they would do with Gabriel if he had too many marks on him.
Mm-hmm.
They would lock him and gag him in the cabinet and tell the authorities that he was out playing.
This is the drain in the bathtub. This is where, now mind you, them yellow stickers like this red one, I told you guys earlier, hello Josie, that they ran out of this red tape because there was so much blood they had to tape off. This is the bathtub. Now the reason why there's blood in the bathtub is because Pearl wanted it to make it look like, Pearl had 2 stories, people. You're going to see this through some of the clips we show you. Pearl, throughout this, had 2 excuses. The first one was like Doris told you earlier. She called 911, told them the boys were messing around. He slipped, fell, and hit his head. When you go into the trial, that is not what Pearl says. I mean, when she goes into the interrogation room, Pearl says he slipped and fell and hit his head in the bathtub. That is not what happened. They tried getting, they tried cleaning up Gabriel before the paramedics came.
Yeah, Donna, that's why they started an investigation, because the CFS people took that as an excuse and left the house and wrote on their paperwork, no sign of abuse.
There's the picture of the cabin again. Like I said, all these little yellow tapes, that's where blood was found. And it was later determined that all this blood was Gabriel's. Hello, beautiful. It is fucked up, ATV. This is the piece of wood I told you about. They would use handcuffs, but when they didn't want no one hearing him, they put this board across. So you couldn't rattle the cabinet doors. And the kids couldn't sneak them food and occasionally something to drink. This is the bat, one of the bats. Now, in one of the clips we have, you hear one of the other children say that they were beaten by Pearl with the bat. I believe it was the sister.
And the brother also says that he was there the day that Tony knocked Gabriel's teeth out with
Right.
the bat.
And Ezekiel said that their mother would beat them with the bat long before the boyfriend even was in the picture. So them kids, they get it. They just didn't get it as worse as Gabriel. As bad as Gabriel. This is another one of Pearl's bats. And I believe this is the bat that was used to knock Gabriel's teeth out. And not all, and go through our investigation today, before we started streaming, I learned that not all of Gabriel's teeth is missing because of one of these bats. They forcefully removed some of Gabriel's teeth. This is the BB gun that Gabriel was shot with. This you see over here, this is mace.
They would mace him.
They would put him in the bathtub and mace him and then make him take a cold shower.
Which, if you don't know, water activates the pepper spray even more. It makes it burn even more.
This down here is the leather gloves that Tony owned. Tony was a security guard at night. On this belt, you can't really see it clear. There is, they have a taser gun. They used the taser gun on Gabriel as well. So some of them marks you see isn't just the BB gun. It's from they would tase him with the taser.
And that leather belt is also something that they would use on him, except they would use the end with the metal buckle on it.
Right.
They would also use wire hangers.
Mm-hmm. This is the day the police started. You're right, Susan. This is the night the next. This is on the 23rd when they went to investigate. This is how the bedroom looked. Over here, over this way, a little more. There's holes in the sides of the wall that is humongous that Tony put Gabriel's head through. There was other holes that they covered up that previously Gabriel had went through. Tony would, on more than one occasion, not just the night that Gabriel was murdered, he would hold him up by one hand by his throat up on the wall.
Yes, Donna. Tony's occupation was a security guard.
He also worked in that nursing home, that senior home care, but at night he was a part-time security guard. Yes. And what aggravates me and Doris is that they only talk to the people that worked in the senior living home. They never once went and talked to anybody for any of the nightclubs at night that he would work security. Hey, Wild Child. These are Pearl's precious cats. The reason why I put this picture is because all these cats also lived in a kennel. They only was allowed out to go to the bathroom and eat. And then they were put back into the kennel. These cats meant more to Pearl than her children. And because when the coroner did his investigation, what isn't freaking working? The only thing they found in Gabriel's stomach is the cat litter. When the police came to arrest Pearl, Pearl did not ask how her son was. Pearl asked about her cats and where would they go and if they are okay. Yeah, not about her son, who was brain dead in the hospital, but about her cat. She was worried about her cats. Now the other two children, just her cats. These are a pair of boxers that Gabriel was wearing. I first thought it was a shirt, but upon further investigation, because me and Doris couldn't figure it out, I found out that these are a pair of his boxers.
Wild Child will be doing a regular stream after this one. This one's
Yes.
kind of like a special stream.
Right. At midnight, we're going to be going to a regular stream for Susan's birthday. Here we are. I believe that's all I have for this. Yep. So we told you that on May 23rd, 2013, Pearl and Tony were arrested on, at first they were, Doris told you, and then it got when Gabriel died on May 24th. The charges, like Doris told you earlier, was up to first degree murder with special circumstance of torture. They pursued the death penalty at that time for both Pearl and Tony. On September of 2017, jury selection began. The jury was informed with a questionnaire. They were warned that there would be sensitive material, pictures, and if they could handle it, basically this wasn't the case for them. The jury was made up of 8 women and 5 male? Is that how
7 women and 5 men.
Yep. So on November 14th of 2017, the jury went into deliberation. The verdict was reached not the next afternoon. He was found guilty. Tony was found guilty of first degree murder with special circumstances of torture. Pearl pled not guilty on February 15th, 2018 to avoid the death penalty. Doris has more information on that. So did you want to tell them more about, hey, Dustin?
Sure. So in the clips that we'll be showing you, apparently Pearl was extremely upset with Tony because she wanted him to also cop a plea. She wanted him to plead guilty to avoid the death penalty. He pled not guilty, which caused him to go to trial, which kept the death penalty on the table. In some of the court clips, they have a recording that they did when they were in the jail cells of the courthouse, where she was saying all of the damage that they said they found on Gabriel. And she had said to them, and they want me to plead guilty because you told them I was in the room. Why did you tell them I was in the room? So apparently she wanted him to take all of the blame for the beatings and the death.
So with Pearl pleading not guilty, they also put in the stipulation that she cannot put in any appeals. She has to serve her life sentence.
And she will never be eligible for parole.
Ever. On December 11th, 2017, the jury deliberations began for the sentencing phase of Tony. The next day, the jury was deadlocked. However, on December 13th, they decided to recommend the death penalty, which Judge George G. Oh man, I can't say last. He accepted it. Judge George accepted it. So as of right now, like we told you last week, Tony is awaiting. He's sitting on death row, awaiting. Right now, like you said, because of COVID, they're not doing any executions at the moment, but he is awaiting execution.
And one thing I wanted to bring up, when they were doing the penalty phase, which is when the jury decides whether he should get life in prison or the death penalty, they had some of his family testify to see if they could get the jury to decide life in prison. And in my opinion, this kind of went against him. His sister testified that they had a great childhood. Neither one of them was ever physically disciplined. They went to church on a regular basis, and he was even served as an altar boy when he was young.
And I want to also bring this up in regards to Pearl. Pearl's attorney tried to use, I think we touched on this last week, but I'm going to touch on it again. Pearl's attorney tried to use that her IQ is less of a fourth grader. Listen to me. And Gabriel's attorney came back, both his attorneys came back and said she worked the system for years. She is smart enough to work the system. She is not incompetent. It don't take a genius to torture a child.
And next week, sorry.
And I don't think her mental, her IQ, hello, Jesse James, has anything to do with it. And I was talking to Doris about this earlier. I think the reason why she didn't step in and save her son, and before we get into the stuff with the clips of the child, the whole reason Tony beat Gabriel this night, supposedly, was because Pearl told him, Gabriel came home and said to her, Mommy, I wish you would leave him. I wish you would leave him so it could just be us. Pearl told Tony this. Tony confronted Gabriel. Gabriel said, I didn't say it, I didn't say it, I didn't say it. If you listen to anybody, they will say Gabriel was a sweet boy. He would never lie. That's not, if he says he didn't say it, he didn't say it. Especially if he knew the beating he was going to get. Even, you know what I mean? So in my mind, I'm thinking, this is what I think. To her, it's the beatings of Gabriel had nothing to do with him may or may not being gay. She wanted Tony to be him, and she wanted to watch it because it was a turn on for her. She enjoyed it. because she is mentally ill. She is schizophrenic, and they tested her, and she does suffer from mental illness. And I'm not making that as an excuse for it to be okay for her, but I think it turned her on watching Tony beat the shit out of her son in a sick, twisted way. I truly believe that's what happened, because in the clips that you hear that Doris is telling you about, in her voice, it was like excitement talking about it. You know what I mean? Like, if I don't know how to explain it without you hearing it. You know what I mean? She was like giggly and like, as a female, when you get turned on and you're turned on, and some of your man don't turn you on, we get goofy. You know what I mean? Our voice changes, we giggle. That's to me what she was doing, and it sickens me. You know what I mean?
And if you ever watch the docu series on Netflix, they have clips of or documentation of text messages between the two while Tony was at work and
Planning to beat this boy.
planning to beat him. And she would text him how she was having Gabriel in ice water in the bathtub for hours just to torture him.
And they would beat him, put him in that box, and they would have sex in the same room. Gabriel was sleeping in that box.
And then they would go to sleep knowing he was in there.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, his lawyers also tried to use the mental illness claim, saying that he was held back numerous times. And when he went through the 11th grade for the second time, he was 19 years old before he finally dropped out of school.
And Dustin, I during this whole investigation, even today, doing this with Doris, I was getting angry. You know,
And the
No.
judge threw out his mental defect claim because they had no experts coming up that ever examined him to say that he had any type of mental illness or learning disability or anything like that.
and Dustin, it pisses me off, like I was saying too. It does, but the reason we're doing this story is because in just this county alone, children are being murdered that shouldn't be being murdered, like shouldn't be in that environment. In just this county alone. You know what I mean? Like, I was joking with Doris and I said, I'm gonna make an announcement during the live stream. If you want to raise children, have family, don't go to this county. Because I'm telling you, this county like has death warrant for children.
Yeah. Next week, we'll talk about how they're still doing an investigation now. And they said there were so many cases where they found that children were kept in unsafe home environments because these people didn't finish reports or didn't start reports in the time of the case. So nothing happened in real time. And that is how so many of these kids ended up dying.
Okay, so now we're gonna share. Do you want to share your clips now, Doris?
I thought we were going to use yours because mine
Okay.
is messed up.
Okay, so we're gonna go to mine.
We both have the same clips. So
Yeah, but she tried to get fancy and edit hers, so we
I
didn't have to
did.
go. I did, but then her audio, it worked. It was fucking working too, and then her audio. Okay, so I just like this one. She did. It was a good idea. If it would have worked, how do I get out of this? Oh wait, is that my box? Yeah, because I'm brand new. Oh wait. Alright, that's not what I want to share. Stop sharing.
I was going to say that's the opening, Lisa.
Yeah, that's. See, I'm still brand new too. I'm not perfect. All this new technology is new, right? Okay. It's new to me. It's fancy. This is high tech for me. Okay. So, I gotta move this little box over yonder. And again, go to my YouTube. I have this all set up, but crap happens. So y'all gonna watch me.
Yes, Darren, it is. It's when you learn what humans are capable of for no reason other than their own joy at hurting others.
Especially a child.
Or even someone that's capable of looking the other way. Dustin, I called you Darren.
It's not the worst.
You could be
Dustin's
Darren
father.
tonight.
It's not the worst Dustin's been called. He'll be all right.
But that was just like we said last week. That was one of the reasons we wanted to do this. Just so that way, like, if ever you see a child with bruises or marks or anything, step up and say something. You may be the only one that does.
This is the one I can't wait to play. Okay. Well, come on. That's the one. That's the one where they talk about her getting her ass beat.
His teeth were knocked out. His penis was burned, bruised, and cut. He was being starved to death. Wasn't allowed outside. Had no toys. No friends. He was belittled and bullied. Gabriel's last vision was that man over there, standing over Gabriel, beating him to death.
Tommy detailed out the disturbing acts allegedly committed by the Palmdale couple, how they beat Gabriel, bit him, burned him with cigarettes, whipped him, shot him with a BB gun, starved him, fed him cat litter, and kept him gagged and bound in this cubby. As for a motive, that Aguirre just didn't like Gabriel and thought he was gay.
The evidence will show that the defendant is nothing more than a bully. He was a security guard who was intentionally tortured and abused a helpless and innocent little boy.
LAFD paramedic James Cermak, the first witness on the stand, said he couldn't believe what he saw when he responded to the 911 call of Gabriel in cardiac arrest at a Palmdale apartment back on May 22nd, 2013.
The more you look, the more you saw. It was just unbelievable. The amount of trauma on his body.
Defense attorney John Allen says his client admits to causing the injuries, but that it only happened because Asaro exploded in rage after Gabriel told his mom to leave her boyfriend.
That Asaro has a very hard time handling stressful, chaotic situations. He is guilty of murder, but the special circumstance alleged that he intended to kill Gabriel through the infliction of torture is not.
This is day 2. Now, the prosecution really painting a picture with the 8-year-old's injuries. His 2 front teeth forcibly removed, ribs that were fractured, burns all over his body, strangulation marks, as well as skull fractures. The jury, many of them not even able to look at these pictures anymore, but the prosecution relentless in trying to prove that Gabriel's murder was intentional.
Strangulation marks around his neck, his ankles are swollen. I believe his left palm looked like it was burned, bite marks, bruises, head to toe, skull fractures.
Every inch of Gabriel was bruised and swollen. His skin was kind of a black and blue mottled color. I remember he felt cold to the touch.
This is one of the nurses.
His body had been bruising throughout his entire body, and it looked like his penis had somebody attempted to cut it off. And you testified that pretty much every inch of Gabriel's body was covered in injuries. Is that correct?
Correct.
An overflow crowd in court today to hear firsthand from an emergency room nurse who treated young Gabriel when he was taken to the hospital after being beaten unconscious.
These are multiple injuries of different types. There were abrasions, there were open wounds, there was bruising, there was swelling, there was marks on the legs, there was skin missing never seen anything in my entire career. I've never seen anything like that. I wasn't prepared. I was speechless.
Today in testimony, his grandfather said that he and his wife, the grandmother, had this little boy in their custody for almost 8 years. And then mom came, his daughter, and said, I want him back. Robert Fernandez told the court today that listening to that 911 tape, hearing the voice of his late wife, and knowing that they were talking about his 8-year-old grandson, Gabriel Fernandez, was just too much.
He had sworn that he was going to bring Gabriel back, and he did it.
He was talking about the defendant in this case, Isaro Aguirre. Fernandez told the court that he and his late wife, who died of complications from diabetes 8 months after Gabriel died in May of 2013, had raised Gabriel for nearly 8 years. They thought they had complete custody of him. Thought they did.
And the deputy said no. I don't know what he started talking about. We had to go to court.
He was talking about the night deputy sheriffs went to his house and told him and his wife that they could not get Gabriel back. His daughter and her boyfriend had taken Gabriel, and they wanted him back. And they were told that the document that Pearl Fernandez had signed, relinquishing custody, was not valid, and that the mother was entitled to have her son back.
That she had the legal right to revoke that at any time.
Sheriff's Detective David Nisenhoff, who was there that night, explained to the jury what he told the grandparents, that they could not keep Gabriel. Gabriel then moved in with his mother and her boyfriend, and Fernandez said he saw very little of him over the next 8 months. 2 or 3 times at the most was because his daughter wouldn't allow it. And then he said he made a promise to Gabriel.
One of these days, then come home. And I promised that. Career.
It was an accidental death.
Secretly recorded in the Antelope Valley Jail, Pearl Fernandez demanding answers from defendant Isaro Aguirre. She has seen the autopsy of her 8-year-old son, Gabriel.
He suffered from a brain concussion that is cracked. And from cardiac arrest.
Her questions, not about how it happened, but how much Aguirre had filled to detectives.
You know why they got that murder charge on me? Because you said I was inside the room.
No squabbling, no expressions of sorrow. According to prosecutors, it's another reason Aguirre should be put to death.
No cameras allowed on the court today as the older brother of Gabriel Fernandez took the stand. He's now 16.
Donna, this is the part I want you to pay attention to. This little boy is 16 now by the time this trial has happened. And you can't hear him. They won't let you hear his voice. They won't let you see his face. But they read off what the brother testified. And even with them reading off, without hearing this boy's voice, seeing his emotion, you still can tell the fear that they instilled in these children too.
And was identified only as Ezekiel. He was shown the cabinet that Gabriel was forced to sleep in night after night. He called it the box. Question: do you remember seeing the defendant and your mom put Gabriel in the box? Yes. They would put handcuffs on the door to the box. What else? They would wrap a bandana around his mouth. Sometimes they would put a sock in his mouth. He told the jury about the beatings Aguirre would give his little brother with a belt. My mom's boyfriend hit him with a belt, he said, the metal part. Where? In the arms, legs, back. Sometimes he used a metal hanger. How often? A lot. He then said one time Aguirre hit him with a bat. I saw his teeth get knocked out. I saw lots of blood. And he told the jury how he saw Aguirre shoot his little brother over and over with a BB gun. Question: did you see the defendant shoot Gabriel? Yes. Where? In his legs and arms. What would Gabriel do? Scream and cry. Where else did the defendant shoot Gabriel? In the groin. During his entire testimony, Ezekiel, who was 12 years old when he witnessed all this, never once looked over at his mother's boyfriend. He said he's
trying to forget what he saw. And then he told the jury, quote, "The defendant ruined my life. I want to get past it."
My mom and her boyfriend made Gabriel eat spoiled stuff or expired stuff. One thing I remember is expired spinach. He threw it up and they made him eat it off the table. Prosecutor asks, did the defendant make him eat throw up? Ezekiel answers, yes. Ezekiel said Aguirre and his mom threatened him with the same abuse if he told anyone or did anything to stop them, and said Aguirre and his mom told him to lie about Gabriel's injuries, saying they happened while he was playing. Ezekiel testified that Gabriel was not given any toys and not allowed to play with friends. Ezekiel also said he didn't know why Gabriel was beaten, abused, and treated differently. Throughout the 16-year-old's testimony, Azaria Aguirre remained stone-faced and motionless. On the day Gabriel died, Ezekiel said he saw his mother and Aguirre hitting Gabriel until he was bleeding and then dragging the boy into their room and closing the door. Ezekiel said he heard screams and bangs, and then everything went quiet. The prosecution played for the court the recorded interviews of defendant Azaria Aguirre, also known as Tony, conducted by sheriff's detectives in the hours after Gabriel was rushed to the hospital. In the recordings, Aguirre describes how Gabriel made him mad, saying the 8-year-old told his mother Pearl that she should leave Aguirre. In the recordings, Aguirre states that he lost control, even admitting that he hit Gabriel harder than he has ever hit anyone before. Aguirre admits at one point he count. In their cross-examination, the defense played the video recording of Aguirre's interview with detectives. Aguirre describes trying to revive the 8-year-old when he stopped breathing. The prosecution, however, fought back in their redirect. Criminalist Tiffany Shue described while the jury looked at photo after photo of bloodstains and indentation marks on the walls. Shue did DNA tests on items in the home with blood on them, including a wooden club, a black bat, and a data cord. She says his DNA was also found inside the cabinet prosecutors say Gabriel was locked in for hours with no food or water or access to the bathroom, bound and gagged. On cross-examination, Shue told the jury a blue bandana and socks that may have been used to gag the boy did not contain his saliva. The last witness on the stand, Stephen Schlebe, the now retired criminalist, testified his job was to compare a cat litter sample to the contents of Gabriel's stomach under a microscope.
And that same material was also what composed the gray particles from stomach. So they were similar. Yes, I could not tell them apart.
This tells me that Gabriel's rib cage has been struck by blunt force multiple times from multiple different directions over a period of.
On the stand today, Gabriel's first grade teacher, she spent the most time with Gabriel and said that he opened up to her about the abuse he was experiencing.
Okay, take a minute, let you two catch up. Donna, I hope that answers your question about why the children didn't speak up. I hope you heard the threats that Ezekiel said their mother made to them. So with Ezekiel being the oldest, I would want to say he's 12. So that would have made Virginia, who was
I think she was 11.
11, and then would come Arnold, and then Gabriel was the youngest. So these were all young children.
And Donna, as far as your comment about animals, the judge actually talks about that at the sentencing
Right.
and says that even animals treat their children better than what these two treated Gabriel.
Hello, Willie.
Hi, Willie.
Again, the Nightbot link that is dropping in the chat right now is to Gabriel's Foundations. If you do not have Facebook and you want information, contact me or Doris. We have it. Um, um, whatever proceeds the round table makes telling this young man's story we do not keep. It is going to we're going to pick one of his foundations and donate the money there. So whatever super chat, whatever ad revenue, whatever we make during these streams in for Gabriel, in Gabriel's honor, we are donating it to one of his foundations.
And I want to clarify, one of the reasons Pearl, or the main reason Pearl wanted Gabriel back, was for welfare. She did not want him back because he was her son. She did not want him back because she loved him. It was for welfare money and welfare food stamps.
And I'm going to say this again. When they say they tested her IQ and she's under a fourth grade level, this woman conned this system since her first child. When the security guard caught Gabriel, and Gabriel showed him his injury, she had all four of her children with her, pretending like she took care of all four of them. Arnold lived with Arnold Sr.'s parents since almost birth. She didn't want him. You will hear in this clip Arnold Sr.'s father talking about how Pearl talked about her son from the moment he was born. And it's the same exact stuff she said about Gabriel.
And next week, we will show a clip of one of the social workers that was assigned to the case who said that he realized that Pearl knew the right answers to give to questions, that she knew how to work the system. So they did not investigate further and they did not insist on seeing Gabriel.
Like we told you last week, one of the investigators let her get away because he wanted to sleep with her. Why do you think he thought he had a chance to sleep with her?
You've seen some of the pictures she's taken of herself.
Pearl uses her body to get what she wanted. You know what I mean? And I get so frustrated. I forgot what I was gonna say. I forgot. Oh, I want to know, and I want to, I'm gonna bring this to everybody. There was a social worker that went on trial, crying over how she's seen Gabriel and couldn't believe it. Where was a social worker like that? Why did it take for him to get in that hospital?
Right,
When
that
it
was
too late.
And just so you guys don't get confused, that was most likely a social worker at the hospital.
Yes.
That was not someone that worked for the county.
Right. When Gabriel came to the hospital, in case no one is aware of how child services works, when your child goes to the hospital and they believe that there's a chance that child is being abused, they call child services.
And they are not allowed to let that child leave the hospital.
So the same department that went in and investigated before Gabriel made it to the hospital, that's not the same department where she came from. It's totally different. When your child's in the hospital and they call you, you're in one department of child services. When you get called because you're getting an anonymous phone call, that's another department of child services. To me, it's fucking ridiculous. But whatever. We all should be trained the same. That woman is crying because the boy is dead, and she knows child services has been to that house and it could have been avoided. If there was a fucking caseworker that cared as much as she did, while that boy was lying there dying, he wouldn't have been dying. That's all I wanted to say. Moving along. This is because we got a half hour because we were trying to do this in 3 parts. It's not gonna work because the more we looked into it, there was far too much in the trial. So it's gonna be a 4-parter, most likely.
And we thought that it might be a lot for everybody to watch all at once.
Right.
So we thought we would break the trial up in 2 and then cover the social workers and then do our wrap up in that
Right.
stream.
And everyone, yeah. All right, so we're gonna go on. There is a video at the end of this stream. I'm gonna say, me and Doris are gonna say our goodbyes. I'm gonna play a tribute video that somebody made for Gabriel. Once that tribute video is done, I'm ending the stream and we're starting up another stream for Susan's birthday. So no one gets confused and is scratching their head talking about where'd she go. But I'll remind everybody in about a half hour. Okay. The teacher's coming up now, y'all. The teacher.
At home. Written in the shaky, unsure handwriting of a first grader, Gabriel's teacher reads a note she found hidden in the 8-year-old's desk a few days after she learned of his brutal death.
I love you, Mom, and Gabriel is a good boy.
Jennifer Garcia said Gabriel confided in her early on in the school year, telling her he was beaten at home. Garcia immediately reported this to the Department of Children and Family Services.
She's like, well, sometimes my mom makes me bleed. And I said, well, where do you bleed? And he said, well, on my bottom. And she blew with a belt. And he's like, you know that part with the nail on it? He's like, that part.
Over the next few months, Garcia said she saw repeated bruises, burns, wounds, and other injuries on the boy, and said in at least one instance, Gabriel came to school wearing girls' clothes. Defendant Isario Aguirre remained emotionless with his eyes on the table in front of him as Garcia described seeing Gabriel become more withdrawn and lash out in anger when questioned about his injuries.
Are you sure that that's what really happened? And then he did eventually tell me he was like really angry and said, because my mom shot me in the face with a BB gun.
Garcia said she called DCFS multiple times and then realized Gabriel was suffering more abuse because of it. A metal baton and wooden bats. Aguirre's trial revealed that Gabriel would be beaten anytime social workers would ask questions about his injuries.
I didn't want to call. I didn't know what to do. I don't know. I could look at his face and, not be able to assure him that that wasn't going to happen again when I couldn't say that.
When Gabriel was absent for several days, Garcia was told he had been sent to live with family in Texas. The teacher hoped this was true. Roughly a week later, Gabriel was dead. Today, the prosecution rested its case against Aguirre, closing with a detective who listed all the items Aguirre allegedly used to hurt the boy, along with a bat and a club.
2 pairs of handcuffs were recovered.
Yes.
Some metal BBs that were in a plastic container that was recovered.
Yes.
BBs, which were found embedded in a child's body. 9 metal pellets in his neck, face, lungs, legs, buttocks, foot, chest, and groin. Earlier, the jurors heard Aguirre in his own words, calling 911, explaining that Gabriel fell unconscious while playing with his brother. That call came after Aguirre said he had first tried first aid, spraying Gabriel with water.
He's unconscious. So she went to the shower with cold water, and right now I pick him up, and he's in the hospital.
She found a BB that was lodged in his foot.
After a parade of witnesses told the jury about the torture and the bruises and injuries they found on the body of 8-year-old Gabriel Fernandez, after his grandfather wept on the stand, it was the defense's turn to put up their case. The jury saw a video of 37-year-old Isario Aguirre, the defendant, crying when he was being questioned the night that Gabriel died. The defense claims that during this interview, Aguirre kept asking detectives, how's Gabriel doing? Can I go see him at the hospital? He kept asking that over and over again. The defense contends that this is important because it shows that Aguirre cared for the little boy. Sure, they claim, he did beat up Gabriel. He did hit him. He did kick him. But that's what Aguirre's attorney told the jury during opening statements, that Aguirre did commit murder, But he also told the jury that the special circumstance of torture, which could lead to the death penalty, does not apply here because Aguirre did not intend for Gabriel to die. According to sources, right after Aguirre was arrested, he told detectives it was all Miss Fernandez. She was the one that tortured 8-year-old Gabriel, not him.
Today, the defense called the paternal grandparents of the 8-year-old victim. The couple in Texas had no knowledge of Gabriel's abuse, but they did know how his mother Pearl treated another son, Arnold, testifying that Pearl didn't want the 4-year-old, so she gave him away.
She told us that she did not love Arnold because she suffered so much during his delivery that she did not love him.
Through an interpreter, Rodrigo Contreras said they never saw Pearl hit any of her children, but he and his wife saw signs.
I saw a couple of times, a couple of bruises on Arnold.
4 witnesses standing by this morning testified that Aguirre had difficulty with simple tasks when he worked at a McDonald's, that he was easily duped, that he was a D student who failed the 9th grade and later dropped out. The court disallowed those witnesses because the defense had no expert to testify that Aguirre's slowness was a factor in how he treated Gabriel. The judge admonished the defense. The lawyers had 3 years to find such an expert and didn't. No more witnesses, no hearing until Monday when the defense is expected to rest and the jury will hear closing arguments.
There is evil in this room right now. And it's right over there. A bandana was over his face. His ankles were handcuffed. That was old and new hematoma. Bleeding in the brain caused from blunt force trauma. His hair was actually physically removed or pulled out of his head. He was belittled, bullied, and called gay. His teeth were knocked out. Gabriel was dying. They were killing him. That's intentional murder by torture. The defendant actually liked torturing Gabriel. He got off on it. He got off on it. And when you think about all the evidence, I know it's hard to believe that. It is hard to believe that, but he did. The defendant took everything from him. Everything. And the last thing he saw was the defendant standing over him, punching him, kicking him, calling him gay, and beating him to death. Hold him responsible. It ends here. It ends now with you, the people.
A decision to kill made rashly, impulsively, or without careful consideration is not deliberate and premeditated.
Guilty of the crime of murder in the first degree, we further find the allegation that said murder was committed intentionally and involved the infliction of torture.
Isaro Aguirre, now a convicted man, facing the possibility of...
Donna, you will see the father. I believe in this clip, in this video that we're showing, he did make it to trial and he did say his piece. I also want to clarify that the old man you saw on trial, the grandfather that had the interpreter, that was Arnold Sr., the kid's father, that's his father. That is who has been raising Arnold Jr. Practically since birth.
Yeah, daughter, like we explained last week, at the time this was taking place, the father was in prison. And as you know, I work at a prison. That's the one thing that the prisoners have no rights to, is what happens to their children while they're incarcerated. Being incarcerated, they pretty much give up their parental rights. They have to go to court to keep their parental rights.
And Arnold Sr. was under the impression that Gabriel was not with Pearl. He was under the impression that Gabriel was still with Pearl's parents. He had no idea that Pearl had taken Gabriel back.
the death penalty, never made a move, never looked anywhere but straight ahead, never flinched, never shed a tear. it was during the trial that evidence came out that every time Gabriel was beaten, they kept saying that you're no good, you're not worth living, you're a bad boy. That's the note, I'm a good boy. What happens next? They take a break, same jury, 7 women, 5 men. They now begin what is called the penalty phase.
What caught me really off guard was that just the way he was being held.
Veteran paramedics shocked, first seeing the head-to-toe injuries on 8-year-old Gabriel Fernandez.
I've never seen a kid who was that abused.
Then how little the defendant, Sauro Aguirre, seemed to care. The way Aguirre handed him over to first responders.
Like he didn't want to be part of it. Like away from his body was flailed at the back, and his head was flailed back, and arms were wide open.
It didn't have to happen, said the prosecutor, showing these pictures. Then the betrayal. The jury viewing a note Gabriel left behind. I love you, Mom.
Ooh.
Gabriel is a good boy. What Aguirre deserves now, says the prosecutor.
The only just and appropriate penalty that this defendant should receive is nothing less than death.
Aguirre's defense tells the jury consider Aguirre's whole life, that he was mentally slow, easily manipulated, and had no history of violence until he moved in with Gabriel's mother, that she's combative even now.
Including an assault on a custodial officer, resulting in the filing of felony criminal charges by the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office, and a separate incident where she fought another female inmate.
Gabriel's father was in a courtroom today. He stormed out when some of the grisly photos of his son were on display. He will be.
Donna, this is where you're going to meet the father. The reporter is talking about now how he had to leave the courtroom before he went on the stand because the first time he saw how bad his son was abused and how bad he was tortured was when he saw the photos of his son in the court.
And more than likely that was most likely the only time that he had seen Gabriel since before this all happened.
Because you have to understand, before he started going to prison, he had his children a lot, all 4 of them. There's plenty of pictures and plenty of people to say that when he wasn't incarcerated, he was a good father. He had his children, he took care of his children. There's plenty of photos to prove this. On his Facebook, on his Instagram, just even Gabriel's family, on the mother's side, said that when he wasn't incarcerated, he was in his children's life.
And if their laws are the same as around here, if an inmate's immediate family, as in child, parent, spouse, is on life support and they are not in the same state or county as you, they don't get to go see them. So he may not have even been able to say goodbye to Gabriel before Gabriel died.
Last week, I touched on this a little bit. Gabriel's father, Arnold Sr., found out Gabriel passed away by the prison chaplain. And by then, he was already told that his son was on life support and they had taken him off.
And that's really in real life how it happens. Unless they are in the same county, then they can have a family member call the prison, notify the prison, and then they make a special trip for the inmate, depending on what level the inmate is. So sometimes they get to see him, but more than often they don't. And they do find out from the prison chaplain.
All right, here we go.
We'll be back tomorrow to take the witness stand. Arnold Contreras testifies that
This is
death of
Arnold.
his son
This is
changed
the father.
his life and the lives of Gabriel's siblings. Contreras says he is racked with guilt. He was serving time, unable to watch over his son. Had he been able, he would have stopped Gabriel's mother, Pearl Fernandez, and her boyfriend, Isauro Aguirre, from taking Gabriel from the grandparents who adored him.
Pearl never showed any intent of towards people.
Isaro's life is now in your hands, ladies and gentlemen, and I am pleading for his life.
The defense making its final plea for Isauro Aguirre,
If Isaro is sentenced to death, this family will be devastated.
urging the jury to see more than just Aguirre's abuse and murder of Gabriel. The defense describes Aguirre's work at an elderly home and insists life in prison is punishment enough.
A sentence that punishes Isaro for what he did to Gabriel, but also shows compassion to his family, is true justice in this case.
These words coming moments after the prosecution's searing arguments for the death penalty.
No human with a heart and soul could do that to an innocent little boy, and no human, any goodness in that, can do that to a helpless little child.
The prosecution once again showing the court graphic pictures of Gabriel's injuries.
Isaro Aguirre punched Gabriel so hard that the skin became detached from his cheek, from his chin, from his mouth.
And reminding jurors of the last violent day of Gabriel's life.
It's another day where nobody saved Gabriel. It's another day where nobody hurt Gabriel's eyes or Gabriel's skin, except for the defendant.
We, the jury in the above entitled action, having found the defendant, Isauro Aguirre, guilty of the crime of murder in the first degree, and having found the special circumstance to be true, fix the penalty as death.
The mother at the center of one of the most horrific child abuse cases in LA County has cut a deal with prosecutors.
So at this moment, this is what me and Doris was talking to you about a little bit earlier, and hey Vanessa, and last week. This is where you finally get to hear Pearl. Her closing statement pisses me the fuck off.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
You can tell she made that statement because she was told she had to.
Unfortunately, Jenna, they will, even if he went to the same prison, they don't usually do that. They would never keep two inmates that are connected in a crime, whether one be a victim or one be a perpetrator. They would never keep them at the same prison. And other than that, Ontario or whatever his name is, the boyfriend is on death row. So he doesn't move among with the regular population.
But damn it, you would be happy to know, because I think you know this man. His name is Savage. I learned about him from Captain. He did a series on the Gabriel case too. And there was an inmate with Pearl that was released, and he went and found her because there was rumors that how you see Pearl in these photos and in sentencing, her face no longer looks like that because the female inmates took care of her when they found out, when a guard accidentally slipped out that she murdered her child. And some of the inmates had heard about the Gabriel case. But when you're in prison, you don't get to watch Netflix. You don't get to watch too much of the news. So they heard about Gabriel. This one particular inmate I'm talking about, she heard about it because she came in after Pearl. So before she came in, she heard about it. And when they put 2 and 2 together, that she was Gabriel's mother, and they were already pissed off at Pearl because Pearl started stealing from fellow inmates. So, no. So, we're not going to have time to play today, but first thing next week, we are going to play Savage's live stream because he doesn't care if you do. Captain does it all the time. We're going to play his interview with the inmate that was involved in the beating, and she describes the beating, and she's the one that point blank tells you that how you've seen Pearl on TV, her face no longer looks like that. All right, so we're going to continue on because we got to end this at midnight. Peace.
Pearl Fernandez?
And with that soft yes, 34-year-old Pearl Fernandez, the mother of 8-year-old Gabriel Fernandez, pleaded guilty to willfully and knowingly killing her son and torturing him.
Do you fully understand the plea?
By pleading guilty and not having a trial, Ms. Fernandez will not face the death penalty. Her plea agreement stipulates that she will never file an appeal and she will spend the rest of her life in state prison. No chance at all of parole.
I knew in my heart that she was doing what he said she was doing.
Jennifer Garcia, Gabriel's second grade teacher, recalling a parent-teacher conversation she had with Pearl Fernandez in the fall of 2013.
We're talking about, his reading level or something, or, his report card. And she said, because I don't hit my kids. And she said, because I don't hit my kids, I make them do exercises.
But the evidence does show, and now Ms. Fernandez admits it, she did hit Gabriel over and over again.
As I stated last week, you're 17, 15, 20 years right now.
Before we go on to the judge, does everybody see why her statement pisses me the fuck off? Listen.
Yes.
Listen. Me and Doris had this conversation earlier when we were working on this. I don't care if you're the auntie, the grandmother, a human. You're a fucking human being. You ain't even gotta be a parent to look at this little boy's picture and it break your fucking heart. It's not a matter of fame. It's not, and quite frankly, she wanted fame. I don't believe Tony did. I think Tony just wanted to be left alone. But everybody that was in that Netflix series, with the exception of the people that I think is truly trying to do good, like Gabriel's attorney here, the people that are definitely trying to do good, everyone that was in that Netflix series, the great aunt, her husband, where the fuck was all them when this boy was being tortured and abused? Where were they when Pearl's younger sister brought back the pictures of the first time she saw that boy with the busted lip and 2 fucking black eyes? Where were they then? Where was all these people then? Yes, people that don't know him is hurting right now because no child should go through the torture and the abuse that this boy had went through. It has been said that this is not just the worst child abuse torture case that this county has seen. It is the worst in the United States.
And I want you guys to remember that all of the people that you saw testify were professionals. They see people that are lit on fire. They see people that are in car wrecks. And every one of them said this was the worst thing they had ever seen.
Right. I'm going to show you a clip. I'm going to end this and show you a clip from what I showed earlier. The ER nurse, 7 years later, cannot talk about Gabriel without crying hysterically. In the neighborhood they are in, that is a trauma ER. There's a difference between going to a regular hospital and an emergency room that is a trauma. They are set up for trauma. She is in the hood. That's where they take gunshot victims, like Doris is saying, fire victims. They see the worst of the worst. And for her to remember Gabriel and say that is the worst that she has seen her whole time working there, and that is the case that haunts her and that she carries with her, tells you how bad this boy is. I can't imagine this 8-year-old boy being covered from head to toe, being beaten and tortured like he was out of some amusement for this woman. Because that's basically what it boiled down to. Do I think Tony enjoyed what he did? No. I just don't think he could have stopped himself because I think he had anger issues. I'm not making an excuse for him because he needs to rot in hell. But for Doris, for me, I mean, for Paul, for me, she is a mother. And as a mother, I don't give a damn who it is. Who it is. It could be my boyfriend, it could be my kid's father, it could be Jesus Christ himself. I will never, ever stand by and let someone do something, even remotely, halfway near as bad to my children as Pearl watched him do to her son for her sexual gratification. Because, like I said earlier, in my mind, that's what the fuck it was for.
Another thing that pissed me off and what she said was when she said she hopes her children come to their senses and come to her.
Yeah,
Like
because
she
it's the
did nothing
children's fault.
wrong.
It's the children that are crazy. Not that they witnessed for 6 months, 8 months, whatever, her beating that boy. You know what I mean? Like, and I think she pled guilty not because she was scared of the death penalty, but because she didn't want to have to hear her children come on the stand and testify of what they saw Pearl do
Right. And how the
to
abuse
Gabriel.
started before
Right.
Tony came into their lives.
And with them. You know what I mean? That's she did because she portrayed Tony as being the bad guy, the aggressor.
And
When in
not
all
only that,
reality,
but she had crimes with the kid's father. She
right,
tried to stab him.
right, and
So
others
all
would have
of that would have come out in
right.
court.
And like they said in this clip, before she made it to even sentencing, she had new charges brought up against her because she got in a fight with a guard. And then she got in a fight with another female inmate. You know what I mean? So who's the aggressor? We said this last week. It is a proven fact that Pearl has been proved, even with before Gabriel, that she was the aggressor. She was the violent. I think at one time she even went to attack her mother, I saw. So, all right, so I didn't realize the time. I'm gonna end this stream now. But before everybody leaves, there is a tribute song that was made in Gabriel's honor. There's many of them, but this one touched me really deeply. So I'm gonna play this tribute song. I hope everyone will stay and listen to it. And everyone, please remember again, we are not here for the roundtable. We are here to tell Gabriel's story because it is horrific. And like I said a few minutes ago, for this to be have said to have been one of the worst child abuse and torture cases in not just his county, but in the United States, speaks volumes. So we are here to tell Gabriel's story and to show him respect and to spread light to this issue. Um, so I'm going to end this and I'm going to go to the tribute song for Gabriel. At the end of the song, I'm going to end the live stream and then start another one back up to celebrate Susan's birthday, Ken the Redneck Connection's wife. So I hope to see as many people back over there. But here, let me get the. Here is the tribute song for Gabriel.
I wanted to tell you how closely I've kept the memories of you in my heart, and all of the lifetimes we've had to share, live even though we're apart. But don't cry for me, 'cause I'm finally free. stories of saints new and old to worship our Maker. That's where I'll be when you finally find me. Won't you be with me? 'Cause waiting for you are wonders that you've never known. Just hold on to Jesus, reach out for his hands, and one day they'll welcome you home. And that's when you'll be finally free. Finally free to run with the angels on streets made of gold, to listen to stories of saints new and old, to worship our Maker. That's where I'll be when you finally find me. I wish you were